What is interesting is there's another piece of news, an article this time from the Register, which
Mhm.
points out, though, that even with all of that, they face some headwinds. And those headwinds are not surprising if you've done any work selling into the enterprise at all. But that is that when they started pretty much on digital native companies, companies that really were greenfield, didn't have any legacy to overcome. And so this was at, I guess, at a conference, Jimmy Sexton, their VP of Finance, basically just sort of fessed up to the fact that they're running into issues, not issues as a negative exactly, but that the velocity, the deal velocity has slowed dramatically because they're chasing these very large enterprise deals, and these very large enterprise deals, they have to be replacing incumbents. It becomes a replacement motion. And that means that they are sort of beholden to the enterprise buying cycles and when they're coming up for renewals and all that kind of stuff. And it really, to me, the only big, again, if you've sold an enterprise or if you've been involved in the space at all, that there should be like, duh, there's no big aha there, except for the fact that I think it's a good reminder that when we talk about all of this, AI, big data, any of these elements, that the enterprise moves slowly, right? Often signs multi-year contracts. There's a whole lot of organizational inertia that slows things down. And so, we spend a lot of time on this show, I think in our day jobs, talking about the transformative potential of AI. And that always has to be balanced against the organizational reality of what it takes to adopt this technology and to deploy it at scale and everything that goes into that. And I think this is just an example. Now, mind you, in fairness, they're talking about seeing these slower cycles on $100 million deals. So they're
Mhm.
not exactly hurting for it, but it was kind of an interesting, I think, view into how things are evolving.
Right. And I think it's also a good reminder that as we're thinking about this AI transformation process, that often we're going to see these conflicts that a CEO might say, why can't we move to AI faster? And then both the CIO and the CFO have to provide reminders that, oh, we signed a 3 year or 5 year contract with Teradata or IBM or Cloudera or whoever. And because of that, we have to do this XYZ way. We have to do this in the Teradata approved way or the IBM approved way or the Cloudera way. And you heard this new great pitch from, I don't know, Jim Cramer on CNBC from some new company that told you they could do, ABC, but we can't do that because they are asking for us to move all our data to somewhere else first, or they are asking us to take a fundamentally new way approach to structure our data that does not fit with the 25 years of data history that we already have in place in this company.
Yeah, yeah. We used to, I don't know if it's still called that. We used to call it data gravity, right? This idea that
Mm-hmm.
you had this sort of center that was very difficult and the lift and shift costs what?
It's named as Oracle, and
Exactly. But I think what's interesting is there's this double-edged sword around it. I think in the short term, AI can actually help peanut butter across some of that, right? You can connect it to multiple data sources. It can act as a subtraction layer to access data in place and help you gain insights and help you sort of solve for that some of that. But as you want to scale those efforts, that becomes a drag. And so it's going to sort of drive this. To me, what will be interesting, and I'm betting that it will be positive for them. What I think is actually going to happen as these AI use cases kind of go through that evolution and they start recognizing that there's a drag, these large enterprises are going to now become incented to actually accelerate that motion. And because the other thing that this article doesn't point out, but I think is very real, it's not just the renewal cycle. It's also all of that organizational inertia, the fact that, do I want to make this investment of time and resources and money to move platforms if I can't, is the result going to be really much more impactful? Because let's not forget, the legacy data vendors aren't sitting idle. They're continuing to
Mhm.
make the case that they can be a viable platform. So I think that's another element of it. But I think in the end, Snowflake is going to probably be at least have an edge. We'll see. I mean, they have to execute. They have to continue to execute. But I think they have an edge because of where things are evolving to.
Right, but the old pitch doesn't quite work anymore because Teradata does have a cloud product at this point. Cloudera has moved completely from being a Hadoop player to being a next generation data platform. Like, so simply saying you're going to be stuck in the old world by working with Teradata or IBM, it just doesn't work at a time when IBM just bought DataStax and they have HashiCorp and they have their own foundation models. And whatever you want to say about IBM as a legacy player, you can't say they don't have AI pieces that are modern. So, this is more about saying we have been good at staying ahead of the pack, and
Yeah,
we.
but
So
it is. It does. I mean, look, I think Snowflake is arguably they're already an anchor player in terms of their size and where they're
right.
at now. But what I do think is interesting, I don't remember where I should have brought it forward, but it was this article I read. It talked about creating competitive advantage in this era for software companies, and the historical standpoint, right, goes back to the Oracle and SAPs of the world, where we used to talk about creating moats, right, where you created this data gravity, you created this resistance where it was just so costly to move off your platform, or you had such a defensible technology advantage that people couldn't move. But as you just pointed out, that's becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. And so what is evolving is that the greatest competitive advantage is actually speed, is the ability to move quickly and adapt, is becoming the driving force. And so, and this is maybe why I still feel like Snowflake ultimately has the advantage, because despite their size and their relative success in the market, I still think they're moving pretty quickly. So, I guess we'll see how that plays out.